Welcome to the Band Director Bootcamp podcast, the go-to place for busy band directors who want practical to build programs while maintaining balance in their lives. This podcast is brought to you by the Empowered Music Educator Academy, where we help directors like you find efficiency, sustainability, and impact in your teaching and leadership. Now, let's dive in and set the tempo for success.
Welcome to another episode of Band Director Bootcamp, the podcast with productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. I'm your host, Lesley Moffat, and I'm really grateful to be sharing this platform with you. We know you don't have time to watch lengthy professional development webinars, so we bring you 20-minute tidbits with takeaways you can use to amplify your impact and not your workload. So if you've ever had a moment where you've thought, I don't know if I can keep doing this, then this episode's for you. I know it's all of you because you all tell me this every time I go to conferences. So just sit tight. We got all the answers for you because today's conversation is all about what it really looks like to hit those moments in your career where you feel like things are impossible. And instead of quitting, can you find a way to pivot or regroup, move forward in a way that actually works for you? And how do you even know if you can do that, right? What do you think about? So we're going to talk about that today, and we'll walk away with a new way to think about setbacks, a simple approach to self-care that doesn't feel like one more thing on your list, and a reminder that your path in this profession doesn't have to look like anybody else's. So stop comparing yourselves. I do it all the time too, but make it your own. Oh, I just got my dog all upset because of that shit. All right. Today's guest is Dr. Suzanne Gindin, and she's a music educator who knows firsthand what it feels like to love this profession and still hit moments where continuing feels uncertain. Sounds like a book title I know and love. I love my job, but it's killing me, right? She's taught in multiple settings and experienced both being let go and choosing to walk away. And each time she's found a way to reinvent her path and continue moving forward with purpose. And so if you're at that point, when you're at that point, you're like, I don't know if I can do this, I want Suzanne to be sitting there on your shoulder because she's going to talk about her moments like that and what she did, and she's still doing things now. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very honored to be asked. I really love what you do and appreciate being included.
Awesome. As you know, I've just talked briefly, I can tell we're on very similar paths. We both have this passion for music education and music educators. And we're women of a certain age. And we know that we're going to be stepping out of the in-charge role here pretty soon. And we need to know that the next generation of music teachers can face all this. And honestly, we didn't have a lot of women around to talk about this. Now, I know there's men out there listening too. We're not excluding you, but it's just great to have somebody here who's going to share firsthand experiences of the tough stuff, be kind of honest and raw, maybe about some things she's gone through, so that maybe you can see yourself and not just the pain, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's a train coming at you. Who knows? But we'll talk about what we're doing here. So Suzanne, sorry, it's been a long day. Can you just give us your story and where you've been, where you are now, and what you've done in those situations where you're like, I don't know if I can go on, or by choice.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'll start with where I am now, which is teaching 4th, 5th, and 6th grade band and orchestra at a lovely school district in Pomona, California. And teaching elementary students how to play has been an anchor point for me throughout my career, although I do have a doctorate in conducting. And my doctorate in conducting includes choral and orchestra because I was let go from the band conducting program when I was at Northwestern. And that is one of the times I had to pivot. So I was starting out as, a young pianist who joined band on the French horn, grade 5, and then went through all of the things. I tried to quit music about 3 times. And then, of course, had to pivot my job about 5 or 6 times to find myself in this really great position that I have right now in Pomona.
Okay. So when you've had to pivot, tell us, like, what was going on for you that made you, like, well, you talked about that you shifted jobs or something like that. What are the scary things that you had to work through? How'd you do that?
Well, when I was in high school, I was at Interlochen Arts Academy, and there were 8 horn players, and I was right in the middle. So I never was good enough to be in the orchestra. I was in the wind ensemble. Well, little did I know that the wind ensemble at Interlochen was one of the best in the world. So being in the wind ensemble was no small feat. But comparing myself to the other horn players, I didn't feel like that was something I should continue. And so when I went to college, I became a pre-med major and didn't get very good grades, and I really missed playing. So I applied for the music school. I got in, which says something at Northwestern that I got in, and I continued taking lessons, and I decided to do the music ed track because of the conducting, because at that time you were not allowed to do a conducting major.
Okay. So as a teacher, have you experienced burnout at all? Like,
oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yes. So
I think we got a lot of listeners that are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
so my first job, I'm so excited. I go in there to teach, and I think, yes, I want to teach. It was elementary, and then I said, yeah, I really want to teach high school. And then my direct administrator, the supervisor, was really, I would say, almost abusive, verging on abusive, and yelling at me and telling me I was terrible. And, I guess it's to your credit that no one quit. Well, that's a pretty large statistic that I could take over a program with 200 high school students, start a symphony orchestra, and also have 4 elementary schools and have no one quit. But he kind of said it as though I was doing really badly. So he threatened my contract. And even though I had taken the wind ensemble to state playing Relinquenture Posy and had started the symphony orchestra where we played, Farandole and got superior, again, comparing myself like, I must not be cut out for this. So I went on to my master's in conducting instead, because I thought I'm not cut out for teaching. Well, I really loved that. But then when I got to my doctorate in conducting, which I got into Northwestern, I was the only doctoral student invited into Mallory Thompson's studio. And I conducted the L'Histoire de Soldat without a flaw. Like a literally flawless performance of L'Histoire de Soldat. And my recital was great. And I did Benjamin Britten's Sword in the Stone. And she said, I'm not teaching you anymore. And I was kicked out of her studio. And at that point, that was really the reckoning. Like, I was kicked out of teaching. I was kicked out of conducting. What do I do? And I got the most beautiful advice from Robert Ponto, who we all love, wind ensemble director, recently retired from that at University of Oregon. And he said, you can no more listen to the people who do like you than you can listen to the people who don't like you. No one's opinion matters.
You know how long it took me to understand that no one's opinion matters? Because that whole
I was 32. And now she had told me she wasn't going to teach me anymore. I had to find something else to do. I'd uprooted my life and already spent $20,000. And I said, I love music. I'm obviously pretty good at it, or I would never have gotten this far. I don't need to be the best. No one's the best. So I have a right to do it as much as anybody else. And we all know that there's enough bad teachers and conductors out there that even someone trying and doing it, cognitively and with a lot of positive energy is going to be better than a lot of the people who are in it for their own egos. And so I thought, I can do this too. And I pivoted, and I was accepted into the master class at the Bach Festival in Oregon, where I became one of the fellowship conductors. And I was able to conduct 3 Bach cantatas with Helmut Rilling. And at the end of the summer, Helmut Rilling said to the choir, "Suzanne's a good conductor, no?" And then I thought, well, I'm not going to believe Mallory Thompson. I mean, she's a fabulous conductor and a wonderful person, but for some reason, she had tried to make me feel like I wasn't a good conductor. And so I said, well, here's someone who says I am a good conductor. So which is it? And I said, my heart, it loves conducting orchestra and choir. I love the Bach Festival with all my heart. So I emailed Northwestern and I asked if I could get into Victor Yampolsky's studio. And I also asked if I could be it with Stephen Altop, and I became the assistant director of the Alice Millar Chapel Choir. And my next recital, Victor accepted me, and my next recital was doing Bach Cantata number 101.
I may have sometime.
So I completely pivoted, and that was where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be teaching orchestra. And I took Bowings with Robert Chelland, and I did all the things, and I started looking for orchestra jobs, and I ended up at Manchester University, which was lovely. It was wonderful. I had a regional symphony that was mine, kind of a town and gown. I was the first female conductor of that orchestra in its 72-year history, and I also had the band. And I had all the music education because of my background, because I had been teaching for 5 years previous to grad school. Although I did not have a music education master's, they said that was fine. So after about a year, it became apparent that the choir director did not want me there. So I had a choice. Do I keep doing what I love and finish my dissertation and do the best for my students and my orchestra, or do I play politics? Do I take this to heart, you know? And like Michelle Obama says, they go low, we go high. And that's what I've done. And I stuck with it. I had 4 beautiful years with the Manchester Symphony. We did a strategic planning with the CEO of the Indianapolis Symphony at that time. I doubled our numbers. We started doing Beethoven symphonies. We had lots of great soloists. I brought in some international folks. I ended up playing with Amy Grant and Simon Crookall. And it became pretty apparent that even though I passed my 3rd-year review with a unanimous vote, the music department was not having it. So they told the administration some really, really negative things about me and were very rude to my face. And there you're in a situation again, well, it's not a good fit. And I've learned from doing a course called Making Relationships Work with Meg Toohey that failure is feedback and feelings won't kill you. So even when you're feeling so horrible and you think you're only giving the people power if you follow down that road, or if you take to heart anything that they're saying to them, you're giving them the power. And you have to have the power for yourself to follow your path. And I thought to myself, well, this is not my path. So I was a finalist for Hunter College. I was a finalist for a couple of other jobs. And I thought, you know what? I know how to teach. I'm going to go back to teach school in LA. And I was hired and I flew out to LA and I taught at Roosevelt High School, which had 5,000 students, 99% Latino. And again, made lemonade out of lemons. I loved it. My friend was making fun of me because I was going on about that they had this nutrition break between 9:15 and 9:45 every day, where you only had 2 periods, then a break with a snack, and then another break, and then lunch, and then 2 more periods. And I was like, what? Plus, the last place I had taught marching band was Oregon, where it rained for 90 days straight.
Oh.
And you're in Washington, so you know this.
That's why I didn't do marching bands.
Well, guess what?
So.
In California, it's great. You can do marching band all the time. And
but then you have to do marching band. That's the
then you have to do marching band.
So that's why sometimes I don't mind the rain.
What I learned is that marching band was my bread and butter. That if I was willing to do marching band, I could get jobs. So I pivoted to band, but I kept my orchestra chops, and I started a youth orchestra in Boyle Heights, which had a 50% graduation rate. And I followed the tenets of Elsie Stemma through Gustavo Dudamel that we need to build orchestras and not prisons.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I started the Boyle Heights Youth Orchestra, a nonprofit, and we trained, I'd say over our 5 years, we probably trained over 300 students in orchestral instruments ages 6 to 12. And we played for the mayor, and we played for, people at Beverly Hills Hotel. And we just took those kids all over LA. And I realized I just absolutely love teaching band and orchestra. And that didn't work out because they cut my position. So anyone who's out there listening, sometimes you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and you're happy, and everyone's happy, and then they cut your position. So what do you do? Do you quit?
And then, there's that whole thing. I'd like to ask you a couple more questions about that because there's the cliffhanger. But before we do that, I want to take a minute to shout out our podcast sponsor, the Empowered Music Educator Academy. If you're listening to this while thinking about everything still on your to-do list, I see you. One of the reasons I started building tools alongside this podcast was because even the best strategies don't help you if you're too exhausted to implement them. That's exactly why I created Band Director Buddy GPT. It's a productivity and wellness tool designed to think like a successful band director and support the real work behind the scenes, the planning, emails, scheduling, and problem solving, and more, so you can amplify your impact without increasing your workload. If you're a busy band, choir, or orchestra teacher who wants a sustainable way to do this job, you can learn more at banddirectorbuddy.com. Okay, we are back with Dr. Suzanne Gindin, and we've been talking about what happens like when you're doing all the right things and the bottom still falls out from under you. And I keep coming back, to the pandemic. I felt like March or that day school stopped, like our whole lives, we had to pivot, talk about that.
Oh my gosh, we all had to do the hugest pivot.
So I want to ask you about one of your techniques, and then I want to ask you a little bit more in the last couple minutes here about what you do to help others. But one of the techniques you have, because I know a lot of us music teachers are perfectionists, and if we're going to do something, we're all in, we're 110% in and all of this. And then we're setting ourselves up for failure. Let's be honest, right? Because we're going to fail if we're trying to do something perfectly all the time. If I'm going to change a habit, I'm going to change it 100% of the time. That could be your intention, but you have a different rule, and it seems to be working pretty well for you. So tell us about your 80-20 rule.
Well, to be fully transparent, I've had chronic depression my entire life since I was very small. I was diagnosed at age 10, and I have ADHD. So I went unmedicated until I was 30. And then it was during the pandemic when we were locked up at home that I realized I had ADHD. So with those challenges, there was no way for me to be perfect. And the wise women of MRW taught me that there's 80-20. So that is actually the healthiest way to raise children too. So I want every teacher listening to imagine your classroom running at 80%. So anybody on any day can go into your room and it's pretty good. There's a lot of positive vibes. Kids are learning, and not every single kid is engaged. And not everything that you do is the perfect thing for that moment. That's perfect. All right. So the 80-20 is actually the perfect balance for mental well-being and for your students' success. Because students who are being pushed to excel at 95, 100% are going to push back, and it's going to backfire. The flexibility that the 80-20 allows is actually the healthiest place for you to exist, whether it's how neat your home is, whether it's how you stick to your diet, whether it's how much sleep you get, how often you get to the gym, whatever it is, give yourself not 5%, not 10%, but 20% grace. That's being kind to yourself. That's self-love. And you can accomplish all of your dreams with that formula, in my mind.
And for all you folks out there, it is possible. I'm a recovering control freak, and I would have cringed had you told me that 10 years ago. I'd have been, oh, no way, not me. Now I'm like, oh, 20%, maybe 25. No.
Yeah.
No, you got to be real. Got to be real if we're going to do this.
You have to. I mean, all teachers are control freaks in some ways, right?
Yeah. Speaking of teachers, we got just a minute here left, and I want to have you tell us a little bit about what you're doing and the exciting new thing in your
Yes,
life.
absolutely. Well, it hit me after my last pivot because they cut my position after I'd built up a choir that went to Carnegie Hall, that I wanted to help people like myself who found themselves in tough circumstances and really help them from the minuscule, how is your room set up, all the way to how are you eating, sleeping, thinking about yourself, loving yourself. And it's called Limitless Music Teacher Mentors. And you can reach me through that. It's also Music Teacher Mentors at musicedforall.com. And please join us. We're starting cohorts starting April 6th. And we would love to have any music educators that want a boot camp, Lesley, a boot camp in how to master your classroom and your life for long-term success. So you don't have to quit the thing you love most.
That's awesome. I think, you and I, we're on the same track and we get it. This is what we needed when we were struggling, right?
Yes, this is what we needed. We've been through the pain, people. We've been through the pain. You shouldn't have to.
You. Right. It's like teaching somebody alternate fingerings to make a passage a little easier, right?
Exactly.
We've got anything. Yeah.
Yep. Curriculum ideas, repertoire ideas, how to take a trip, how to fundraise.
All of it. Yep.
All of it. Yep.
Let's pass on the knowledge so that others don't have to start from scratch. So
do not reinvent the wheel. Yes. And since there's a 50% attrition in music teachers in their first 5 years, this is really important.
Right. I think about all the money and time and energy and passion and love that music teachers put in just to get that certificate, and then they get in the classroom. We got to have the support systems in place because it's not the school districts running to their rescue.
And if they're not doing it, then, we'll have to do it for ourselves because, we owe it to the kids. Music education is the most important thing to children. I believe it's what they need for their brains and their hearts. And
for our communities, right? We're teaching them how to be with other people, how to work through hard things with other people and together and to support and to play your own part and to step back when you're supposed to. I mean, all of the things we are. Yeah. So Suzanne and I are both out here doing this work because we believe it. We live it. We love it. So check her stuff out. And think about that 80-20 people. Cut yourselves a little break. Just do it for a couple days. See what you think.
Oh, you'll be amazed. And I really want to thank you, Lesley, for having me on and helping to support music teachers. Any job is hard, but our job is hard and beautiful and rewarding and makes the world a better place.
Amen. Amen. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of the Band Director Bootcamp podcast. Thank you to Dr. Suzanne Gindin for being here and to all of you out there who keep showing up every day to teach music. Remember, success in music education isn't just about what happens on the podium. It's about taking care of yourself and setting up systems that work for you. Thanks for listening and keep making a difference in kids' lives through the magic of music education. Before you go, I want to leave you with this. You don't need to work harder to be effective. You just need better support. Band Director Buddy GPT was created for music educators who care deeply about their programs but are tired of carrying everything alone. It's there to help you think through challenges, streamline the busy work, and protect your time and energy without lowering your standards. If that sounds like what you've been craving, head to banddirectorbuddy.com to explore how it works and decide if it's a good fit for you. Thanks for listening to the Band Director Bootcamp podcast and for the work you do every single day.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Band Director Bootcamp podcast. Remember, success in music education isn't just about what happens on the podium. It's about taking care of yourself and setting up systems that work for you. The Empowered Music Educator Academy is here to help you do just that. So be sure to check out our resources at empowerededucator.com. Thanks for listening and keep making music happen.